Welcome everyone to, I feel like it's going to be a really special next couple episodes. We're going to be talking a lot about God and Jesus and his birth and just the profound enormity of how intricate and elaborate God is and his plans for us and how he always wants his absolute best for us. So, first of all, I'm excited. It's Christmas Eve as you listen. It's Christmas Eve. It's an interesting time of year. I really want to dive into, but like, what does it really mean? What is Christmas Eve? What should it mean versus what it does? I mean, I'm not sure, but I know I've spent many years of my life where Christmas Eve was just all about presents and finding things that my daughter wanted, not necessarily what she needed, but what she wanted. I wanted to give her all the good things. As a parent, that's what we want. We want to give our kids more than we ever had, but we can also go overboard, spending way too much money, putting ourselves in debt, having to use credit cards to buy gifts for other people. And if you really stop and think about that, is that God's best? Because he doesn't want his children in debt. He doesn't want us in debt. That's a whole nother episode I think we need to talk about. But in this one, we're going to be talking all about Jesus and what Christmas is really supposed to be about versus what the world tells us it is. So I'll let
Yeah,
Taylor talk.
I
I feel
think
yappy.
I think that it makes a great bumper sticker when you see Jesus is the reason for the season.
Mhm.
But like, are we genuinely living like that? Because not only is he the reason for the season, but he's the reason for our life. And I think that it's aesthetic, it's cute, it's oh, Jesus is the reason for the season. But really our focus is all on gifts, it's all on presents, it's all on the festivities of Christmas and Santa and, the elves and workshop, all the Christmas movies, the cookies, all the fun stuff. And by no means am I saying that it's a problem to enjoy those things, right? It's fun to build a gingerbread house. It's fun to do cute crafts with your kids. But again, kind of like our last episode we talked about in regards to Halloween and how we mentioned any holiday, where we have to remember what the focus is around the day. So, obviously we know that Christmas is about Christ. It's about Jesus and his birth, the birth of our Savior. And so, something we can ask ourselves is as we're celebrating this day with our families all together, all the places around closed down on holidays for you to spend time with your family. So, how are we maximizing that time where the hyper focus isn't on the gifts and the shiny things of this world, but it's on the quality time with your family, with the hyper focus on the savior of the world, because he's the ultimate prize. And so often we get just caught up in the temporary fulfillments of this life that it's futile. It literally, I mean, something that you get brand new one year is, trash the next year. Like, let's be honest, like our materials don't last, but yet we just stay like hungry for it. Like, we're just like, oh, I need something new, need something new, need something new. And Jesus is like, hello, like I'm the well that never runs dry. Like I'm always here. Like you don't have to replace me. You don't have to get a new me every year. Like I'm just always here. I'm constant. I'm sovereign. I'm all these things to bring you life. And yet you're looking to all these temporary things to bring you life and fulfillment. And so we find ourselves, I like to call it like a dopamine dump. And I've heard a doctor, a brain doctor actually use that word in specific, a dopamine dump, where you put all this focus and like Christmas, right? That's like a big day. Like, oh, you shop all year, you do the Black Friday, all this stuff. And Christmas is here. Everyone opens their gifts. It's a dopamine dump. Like your neurons are firing. Like you feel all the pleasure in the world. And then what happens later on Christmas Day when all the gifts are opened, or after you've played with all your stuff, all your new toys, and it's the evening? What do you suddenly feel? you suddenly feel kind of depressed that Christmas is over.
Mhm.
Like, honestly, or the next day, the day after Christmas, kind of depressed that Christmas is over. You looked forward to this day for so many months, and now it's over and it's behind you, and you feel depressed and just kind of like, oh, okay, well, that sucks that that's over. So that's the point that I feel like God is trying to reveal to us. He's like, you won't feel that with me. Like, I don't want you to hurt yourself. And that's why he creates boundaries or suggests boundaries for us of like, hey, don't hurt yourself. Hey, don't put all your faith and your hope into this stuff because it's going to hurt you. It's going to hurt you. You're going to feel these feelings that are not of me once you enjoy that quick high from the temporary fulfillment. But then it's going to let you down. But I won't let you down. And so when we put that hyper focus on Jesus, who it's meant to be about, I feel like we're going to maximize our fulfillment in the Christmas season and in the rest of our lives, especially for our families and our children, and just gathering and fellowship and giving. That's what, the emphasis on these few months is giving. And so I just think that, again, it's the contrast between Jesus, who literally gave his life to give us life, versus the shiny, fun, material things that we put this hyper focus on, the fantasy, all the fun things that, we think are fun, but ultimately, is it really that fun when we put all into it?
Leaves you feeling empty. I also,
Yeah.
I just really had this picture too. Like Christmas is like either Mary or Martha, because you
Mm,
have those that are so stressed out because family's coming. You got to get this ready and this isn't ready. You got to cook this and you got to bake that, and you got to have enough room for the people. And you're just so busy that you're missing out on the actual spending time with your family, like
right.
Martha was doing, and then complaining to Jesus, make Mary do some work. Meanwhile, Jesus is all like, no, we need to be more like Mary. You need to come spend time with me. This is, in almost essence, we should be thinking, this is Jesus's day. What does he want to do? It's his day.
Right.
What does he want to do with us? He wants us to sit and just spend time with him and honor him and just acknowledge what he's about so that we can embrace those attributes of who he is because we're made in his image. He didn't come here and say, buy all these presents and go into debt and make everything crazy and rush around and be stressed out so that you're exhausted. And then at the end of it, you didn't even enjoy the day. And now you've got all this debt to pay off because you went overboard with all the presents.
Right.
None of that is it. That's not what he wants at all. So you need to start asking yourself, like, and this, I guess this would be, what would Jesus do on his birthday? What would he want from me? How can I honor him? It's his day. We've made it all about presence and going into debt and being super busy and trying to make sure everybody has their needs met. But meanwhile, you might be the one that's like exhausted because you're so busy worrying about everybody else and what they need and what they want that you forget that it's not even about that at all. None
Right.
of it,
Yeah.
actually.
And I feel like when you look at society and just the mainstream media uh, agenda or influence, so to speak, in the movies, in the malls, and all these places, um, it does put this emphasis on like that, what you just described, like the chaos of Christmas, like in the movies, like all these
Mhm.
movies are about like Christmas chaos, right? All these families coming, oh, cooking, the craziness, all this stuff, the lights, who has the best decorated house, like all these things where it's like a competition. And I find some humor in some of the movies, but when you look at it from that standpoint of like, wow, like we're so far off from where God really wants us to be when it comes to honoring Jesus on this day. Like, where this day should be about celebrating him and his sacrifice and the gift God gave us on the day Jesus was born. Like, what a gift. But yet we are fulfilled by all these other temporary gifts. Like, that just clicked in my mind right now of like, we were sent this eternal gift, but the enemy wants us to focus on these futile gifts to where we're not paying any mind to the eternal gift that was given to us on the day of Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's something to maybe think about, and that I'm going to think about this year. The gift
Yeah.
of Jesus, the eternal gift, that my home is with him. This is not my true home, my eternal home. This is just my temporary home. And he stepped into this world to present that gift to me, to be able to step into his world in eternity when it's my time. And I think that's so cool. Like, and we don't give enough emphasis or honor to that. I mean, I know we can never outgive God, we can never out honor God, but I think that there's more that we can do to show him the honor that he deserves on this day. Um, as a whole, as you know, the church as a whole. And I always love the Christmas Eve services. That's a tradition that my family's always kind of done on Christmas Eve, just going to a service, a candlelight service, and hearing the story of Jesus when he was born, and just putting an emphasis on that night. And it just redirects our focus before, thinking of all the Christmas parties and all this stuff. It's redirect your focus. So I love that tradition. There's so many different things you can do. I've heard of people telling their kids the Bible story, the night before Christmas when they're going to sleep. Like, let's talk about the Bible story of Jesus being born, and, having the little barn set up. And I've seen interactive toys and stuff like that where, I guess there's a new toy. It's not the elf on the shelf, but it's like a shepherd, and goes through this whole story that's leading up to the birth of Jesus. And you like place them around your house, and every day you kind of read a piece in the book to your kids, and it's actually super cute. So I don't remember what it's called, but you might be able to look it up, and I think that's fun. So there's all types of fun interactive things you can do that point back to Christ. And again, we're not saying take the fun things out of Christmas, but maybe ask God to help you reframe your mind around what is fun, because Jesus is fun. Like, we can have fun with Jesus and make Jesus, the story of Jesus fun and interactive for kids. And I think that we just get lost in the translation of that sometimes. And I mean, I get it. I can be guilty of just getting caught up in materialism and caught up in thinking all these things, right in front of my physical eyes are so important and so vital. But again, I always find myself like, after I've put so much focus on it, and then it happens, and then I look back on it, just kind of drained. Like, I put that much energy into that. Like, wow.
Mm-hmm.
So, good thing God has so much grace for us. And he's like, I tried to warn you, but I love you anyways. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
still here for you.
Yeah, and I kind of thinking, like, what if you took all that hyper focus that we put on earthly things and really focused on our relationship with God and with Jesus, and working on that communication, because he does want to talk to you one on one. He wants to have a conversation back and forth with you um, all of the time. We all want to talk to our children. He loves talking to our children. What if we spent more of that time focusing on him, and even in the morning asking God, like, what can I do for you today, God? Instead of us always being like, God, I want this and I need that, and this isn't going right. So what are you going to do about this? Or why did you let that happen? We're always so concerned with talking to him when it benefits us. But what
Right.
really benefits us is when we actually take that time to, one, get to know him, have that relationship with him, and then ask him, like, what can I do for you today? Because everything he has us do for him benefits us in a much
Yeah.
more deep, profound way than our selfish, needy, earthly wants and desires. And I also think about, too, yes, we live here on earth, but we can have earth as it is on heaven
Yes.
instead of earth as it is on earth.
Yeah.
It's really just was like really just like was highlighted to me in this moment. We could have earth as it is in heaven. Why wouldn't we want to bring things of heaven down to us now? Why wait? Why wait? Why live with just the earthly, crazy, chaotic, um, fear driven, competition fueled earth? Why? Why
And it's
not slow
right here.
down?
It's found right here in the scripture, Corinthians 4:18. So we fix our eyes not on what is seen, but on what is unseen, since what is seen is temporary, but what is unseen is eternal. So I feel like that perfectly describes having heaven here on earth,
Mhm.
is not seeing with our physical eyes, right? And being lured in by the things of this world, but by keeping our focus on the unseen, that of Christ, which, I mean, right? We're not seeing God right here tangibly, like physically with our own eyes, but we know his presence is here. And so we focus on the unseen, we focus on him. And in that, we're going to feel heaven here on earth. We're going to experience heaven here on earth.
Mhm. His presence is our present. Get it?
Love that. That was good. That's a bumper sticker.
Yes, that's what we need. Yes, that's what we should be striving for, is to have his presence and really feel it, because we have it, but we get so
Yeah.
hyper focused on all the earthly things that we don't even feel it. And then we're like yelling at him, "Where are you?" And he's like, "I'm right here. I'm inside
Right.
of you all of the time. You just don't feel me because you've moved away from me. You're
Yep.
focusing on things that aren't me. So of course you're not going to feel me when you're not focusing on me." Which is why, like, those people that are really good at like zoning out and they have no idea what all the stuff's going on around them and they're not seeing any of it, that's that's really being in his presence, because then none
Yep.
of that earthly junk will phase you. You're like, oh, well, that kind of stinks, but I trust God over here. Oh, that's horrible. Oh, but I'm going to come back over here. We have that choice. We make that choice every moment, every day. Where do we want our presence to be?
Yeah. And I think pointing to that is being mindful of the knowledge that you're seeking. Knowledge is power, but the wisdom of God is above all else. And so, when we're seeking all this earthly knowledge, I think that it pulls you into honestly just being so broad in your mind to where you don't even know what's true and what's not true, because there's so many possibilities of what's true and what's not true when you're focused on such a broad spectrum of knowledge. And so, like you said, when you have the peace of Christ and the wisdom of Christ, you're like, you might not know all the information that's going on, and that's a good thing. That's a good thing, because there's so much information out there that's just literally holds no weight, no, it has no eternal value. So it's like, why even stuff that into your brain that's just going to cause worry? It's going to cause doubt. It's going to cause shame, all these feelings that, what, just for you to say you know it? Like, oh, I know this piece of information, but is it actually beneficial to you in your heart and your walk with Christ? And I know this is kind of off subject from Christmas Eve, but I mean, it's still about Christ and walking in his wisdom. So we hope that you learned a lot and that you enjoy a wonderful, blessed Christmas and Christmas Eve with your families and with Christ at the center. And so we hope that you learned a lot and that you truly feel the presence of God and receive that as your present on this Christmas.
Yes. Have an awesome Christmas.